Are you on the edge of your seat? Because we're about to sound off with Kevin Williams, covering today's latest trends in location-based entertainment. Brought to you by the LBX Collective, your community to connect, engage, and inspire. All right, everyone, let's buckle up.
All right. Well, welcome everybody to Sound Off, the first Sound Off of 2025. This is episode number 56. So, man, it's welcome to the new year, Kevin.
Wow. Well, welcome to the new year, Brandon, and also a big happy new year to all of our listeners and watchers. Wow. We ride the roller coaster of time.
Yes, indeed. Indeed. All right. Well, we'll just dive right into it. But obviously, before we do, we've got to talk about our little meme here. So, Kevin, change my mind. What do we got?
Well, I'm not sure if I can, but I'll have a go. The argument is: are the malls, the shopping malls, the retail hubs, the new home for social entertainment venues? Is this now a marriage made in heaven? Or is there still a place for standalone entertainment facilities that just feed off of the locality to these spaces?
Well, I certainly think that there's still room for standalones, although at the same time, I guess it really depends on what the mix is and who you're trying to attract. I think when you're trying to attract families, malls are great, potentially even teens. It also depends on what you're putting in. We're seeing different crane installations going into malls or even strip malls, as well as full-blown FECs. We got Hasbro City in Mexico City that is one of the massive installation and obviously heavy IP driven, and that's at a shopping mall. So I think there's wide variety of things going on there.
Yeah, I'm actually mindful that I think Area 15 has opened my eyes to the possibility of it being, in the next couple of years, the other way around, where we'll be asking the question, can retail still go into mall entertainment spaces? Because it's quite easy to consider taking a venue such as this and populating it with so many different entertainment, social entertainment, young children entertainment components. You have a captive audience, you have a perfect location, and suddenly the dream from the 90s of the regional entertainment facility could be reinvigorated within a mall, a vacated mall location. That said, the mall industry isn't dying. It is going through transition. They are learning the lessons of how to survive in an internet age. Most of them recognize that they're being used as showrooms rather than as retail venues, and so they are cutting their cloth accordingly. But we in the entertainment sector do offer the ultimate anchor. We offer a long dwell time. We can appeal to an audience and we can generate repeat visitation. I didn't get a chance to go to MAPIC last year. That is the shopping mall owners conference in France. It's one of the large ones. And they've been looking very heavily over the last few years at location-based entertainment being used as an anchor for their venues. And I think we're very close to the next generation of that, especially with what we're going to be seeing this year with the opening of Netflix House, which is also within a mall environment, the next generation of Dave & Buster's. As we even covered recently, or will be from time travel here, from a sound off that we've created that our audience will be hearing soon, we actually point to a Palladium in Canada. Palladium is a chain of venues that are cinetainment but are mules, and the latest one that will be opening up in Toronto actually is sitting inside a mall and has been specially configured to fit that needs. So has the cinema. So, a couple of decades ago, it was the cinema and the fast food components that were seen as the anchor for the mall side. Now, the roles are reversed, and it could be us in the social entertainment sector.
Yeah. I think the one thing I'll just add as maybe some additional color is I don't think that we'll see malls completely lose the retail component or even the F&B component and be purely entertainment places for entertainment to congregate. And I think it's because, we were talking, it's one of the reasons why the FECs have gone the mule route or have gone, the multi-attraction path, because multiple attractions, multiple things give consumers and guests reasons to visit again. And having multiple things available at a mall between entertainment and retail and food and beverage and showroom-esque type experiences, or even things like camp that really are pure retail with some entertainment connected to it, give consumers a reason to visit that mall over and over again, to come for different reasons for different reasons at different times of the year. I also will say, it is interesting having a I shouldn't say she's not middle school anymore. I have a freshman daughter. And, I thought that malls for a little while were dying as far as places to just go hang out. I drop her at the mall at least once a week. Go and hang out with her friends. I say at least once a week. There's sometimes, especially during the break, where she's there and they're there for several hours, just wandering around, grabbing some food, going into the arcades, and basically hanging out like we used to do back in the 80s and 90s. And so I definitely think there's a resurgence for malls and generally the retail-tainment environments.
Yeah, I'm currently located here in Spain, and in Madrid. We have some very advanced malls here, some very high-level malls and some very traditional malls, a very fair mix, and they're doing phenomenal business. They really are, but they've cut their cloth to suit their audience. They're offering a much high-level quality. I think maybe popular media has missed the trend that the mall is back in resurgence. I still like the idea of a mall that is all entertainment with a little bit of retail, but you would expect me to say this, but a friend of mine always used to use the chocolate box analogy when talking about how much mix of entertainment you can actually have. And, you open that chocolate box up and, if you represent each one of the offerings in our entertainment industry as one of these suites, then, obviously the most popular of the suite, which it'd be difficult. I'd be really showing my age to try and work out which is the most popular of the chocolate box confections. But in my day, the toffee would definitely be the mule. And then, the custard cream and all of the others, I'm not going to go through all of those, would fit various things. You can only splurge on so much of that chocolate in one sitting. And, how the person picks is very interesting, but how the most important, you get them to come back to try another selection of the suite or try another one is the issue. And with the mall industry, they have a very long record of generating foot traffic, something that we in the location-based entertainment industry need to borrow from heavily for that revenue.
Yeah. Excellent. All right. Well, coming up, we're going to dive into some trends. Intercard is the only cashless system designed, developed, and manufactured all under one roof. They introduced cashless technology to the amusement industry and have been leading the way for over 30 years. Cashless systems from Intercard increase customer spending, guest satisfaction, and boost revenues by up to 30%. Intercard is so proud to be serving the amusement industry, and if you aren't already part of their global family of customers, they hope you will become one soon. All right, let's dive in.
Right, well, here we go. 2025. Boom. Well, start the year with a bang, and gender seemed to be ubiquitous in my reporting. They just announced the acquisition of 63 mini entertainment locations from Halos. I think that they're buying the Halos Garden arcade chain. Halos has a number of family entertainment facilities in Japan, and I think that rather than buying the whole of the operation, the way I was reading the news, having to go through the translator because sadly my contacts in Japan are still on holiday, but it seems from the announcement that it's just the 63 of those locations is being acquired, which is, adding to this vast monster that is gender and all of its entertainment components. And I am led to believe from last year that they still got a number of acquisitions going on. So this fits really closely into our merger and acquisition side of the business. Something that was, got some news coverage going during the build up to the holidays was the Hong Kong Consumer Council making the announcement that they would be investigating the crane business in their locality. And it was really interesting to find out how much the consumer protection of the citizenry in Hong Kong had been raising complaints about feeling unfairly duped by crane machine facilities in that sector. And it was announced that they would be looking into starting an investigation into these sites, but it also was announced that they would be considering getting what is a license for these facilities to actually have to register for, which is quite a move, I think. Can we pause it here? Okay, so moving on, we have SuperSocial. It's really interesting to see new brands breaking in to the competitive socializing sector. And it is clear that our friends at SuperSocial have allocated quite large funds to try and roll out their interpretation of a competitive socializing environment. 5 million euros is nothing to sneeze at for investment into your first facility. Though I would argue that a lot of what they've done with this first site has been purchased off the shelf. So, they are playing the safe game by not developing it themselves, the content, but incorporating successfully proven content into their location. So the first facility opened up in December. And we're going to be hearing, I hope, news about their second venue in the next couple of months. Though, again, like most brand new chains in this sector, they're going to take a deep breath, see how their Christmas period went, see what the audience engagement is, and then roll this out. But again, an example of the acceleration in competitive socializing chains that we're seeing across the market. And then our friends at Five Irons, again, another example of quite an aggressive rollout plan going forwards. The facility had during the 2024, they opened 7 new locations across 6 states in the US, and 6 states in the US, and one that was opened in Dubai. Their next facility that they're planning to open is going to be one of the largest of their sites, and is more of a mule than it is just as a golf sim site. I also know that they've got some really serious plans for their international franchise rollout. So, we can see that these elements, when a competitive socializing venue finds a successful mix, that wheel starts turning and the revolution really moves forwards. And I would argue that X-Golf and some of the others, I forget some of the other ones that are in the sim golf sector chain, are all now going to be vying for control. And Five Irons, I think, feels that they're at the front. I know that there's a Five Irons in Area 15 that has seen some good traction. So, being dropped into a location where there is strong footfall, going back to what we were saying earlier about the mall kind of approach, is beneficial to these kinds of development. Have you done a Five Irons, Brandon?
I actually have done the Five Irons at Area 15.
Oh,
and, I think the Five Irons at Area 15 is very much just a golf simulator space. There's no mixed use entertainment, which would make sense given the fact that Area 15 itself has a bunch of other entertainment. But they've
just parachuted in, I think, a pool table. That's as much as their secondary entertainment.
Yeah, I think they might have ping pong. They might have a ping pong table too. That's like not anything, not gamified at all. But but yeah, it's a good experience. It's a nice casual place to go and hang out and basically hit some holes.
I would love to know the numbers against people that go to these venues to practice their game. How many of them go just as a social entertainment environment, and how many of them are regular, like gym members that go there regularly just for the ambience. It's this kind of dare I say, sportstainment approach that I would be interested to know more data about. And hopefully, especially this year, we will be seeing a lot more of the hard data coming out of these companies as they reinvest themselves and reinvent themselves going forward.
By the way, I will just mention, if you go back one to the SuperSocial, I was taking a look closer at their website, and I'm sorry if I missed this, but it does look like these are, at least the shuffleboard, the darts, and the arena are Conductr's, Game Vault installations. So definitely Dave & Buster's, at least their exclusivity, and maybe their exclusivity is only in the US, but Conductr is absolutely going after other venues now. And SuperSocial basically looks like a Conductr or Game Vault facility, with the exception of the mini golf.
Yes, and very nice. If you go onto the website, it's a very nice layout of a competitive socializing venue. Yes, you're right. I think their darts are 501, though. I'm not sure if.
Looking at the darts, it does look like 501, actually. Yep.
Yeah. But they have, the owners of this facility have gone and done their due diligence. I assume they hired a decent consultant who gave them a list of the products they could take off the shelf. And I would agree with you. If this opened up next door to Dave & Buster's with its new social base, this would beat it into the ground because it is a much more appropriate application of competitive socializing. But again, I'm not sure if our friends at Dave & Buster's have total exclusivity at this moment. I think they were given a certain period of time. But again, our spies will do a little bit more research. Dave & Buster's is going through a little bit of a restructuring at the moment. So I think a lot more of the dirty laundry regarding how their operation is working will be coming to the fore. I wouldn't be surprised in February if we have some more news with the announcement of the new CEO that will be stepping in. So we've gone from the general business trends to let's have a look at some of the tech. And speaking of Dave & Buster's and their social base, we have a comparison of what the Dave & Buster's approach looks like. This was actually images I took when Brandon and myself were visiting the Orlando facility. And I wanted to just revisit that in comparison to what we saw with SuperSocial. Let me just do the SuperSocial approach, Dave & Buster's approach. Now, one is very high-level marketing photographs with people in situ. Here is just bad Kevin video phone footage. But the point I'm trying to make is that they have really gone for parachuting in this technology into its own little bays within the facility rather than incorporating the social entertainment as the whole of the facility. Point one. Point two is I would argue that they've gone for a very sterile approach, understanding that the Dave & Buster's crew know that their audience can be pretty rowdy, and especially these social bays are located near the bar area where the sports viewing and all of that is. So they're not going to really go for as many free-moving objects. I think the faux bookshelf kind of approach is more lends itself to retail than it does to an entertainment venue. I think they could have gone for themality rather than just decoration. Personal opinion. And I would also argue that they're still trying to find themselves with how they manage and operate this. The poor members of staff were dropped into the deep end, given the briefing of how to operate social bays, but how you do this as well as run your sports bar, as well as deal with the children going through the midway section and all of that is very difficult. And as we can see by the picture of the arena, they've actually had to go for a kind of temporary gate system to stop people wandering into that space unless they're going to actually activate the touch screens next door to that. It's not easy to understand, and it still feels tacked on. And I would argue that from this experience and from the photo experiences I've had from other people that have gone to other Dave & Buster's with their social bay, they didn't quite get the memo. Or if they did get the memo, they were missing a couple of pages. And I don't think they currently understand where social entertainment could fit into the Dave & Buster's mix. Personal opinion. Again, we should be able to see in the next couple of weeks some hard financial data, being a traded company, of number one, how the departure of their CEO has impacted the confidence of investors in the business. But also, two, we should be able to start to see if the competitive socializing addition to the Dave & Buster's model is generating at least a spike in visitation and spend. I look forward to seeing that data. Brandon?
Yeah, I mean, I really think that Dave & Buster's is taking the wrong approach here by just trying to slap in some interesting attractions and trying to mix up what they have. Really, I've mentioned this, I've talked about this before, I don't know if on a Sound Off or on an LBX show, whatever, but really Dave & Buster's biggest issue here is their branding. Yes. People know Dave & Buster's to be a large arcade, primarily for adults, although kids do go, but primarily for adults, and a place to go and have some mediocre food, have some beer, watch some sports, and maybe play some games. And that's what Dave & Buster's is known for. It isn't known for social competition. It isn't known for arena style gaming, from immersive enclosures. And they have a branding issue more than they do an attraction mix issue by adding these things in here. And so I really think that the approach they should be taking is taking maybe an existing Dave & Buster's facility or finding a new location, and instead of opening up a Dave & Buster's, creating a completely new brand and fully integrating the social competition components alongside some arcade, alongside elevated food and beverage, and try to create a new brand that doesn't have the preconceptions built around the Dave & Buster's, and pilot that and see if those attractions are able to, and that mix is able to really turn things around. Because I think they're going to get the wrong signals about what they tried to do here, because these things just are not going to do as well by being dropped into existing facilities. They're just not, as opposed to a purpose-built, social venue.
Yeah, totally agree, 100%. The argument of the Hollywood movie is you take a very well-known IP movie. I'm not going to name a movie, but he wears a hat and has a whip, and you totally change the concept. You remove the character as the lead character, and you push forward another individual as the lead character. You totally change the tone, but you still push the film out as an Indiana Jones film. Whoops, I gave it away. An Indiana Jones film, even though you have changed the premise and you totally deflowered the expectation. And the same thing kind of exists here. And I kind of see that approach from individuals that are not 100% comfortable with understanding the market or the audience that they're trying to target. I get the feeling that a lot of the new executives that came into Dave & Buster's weren't quite 100% sure how their audience was going to take to competitive socializing. And rather than creating a brand new brand, they felt that they could parachute in this. So rather than closing down your burger facility and starting to sell wings, they felt that they could sell wings and burger at the same time. I would, given vast amounts of money and the odious job of having to manage this, I would want to create D&B Social. And D&B Social would go to one. After you've done your research, you would find out one of your failing Dave & Buster's in a location that has a strong competitive social audience catchment, and you close it down and then you reopen. And D&B Social would be, as you said, more a venue populated with social entertainment, with some amusement and some unique boutique food. I wouldn't go for the menu that Dave & Buster's normally sells because there's only so much oil in the world you can fry stuff in. But the argument would go that you would be heavy on the cocktails, you would be heavy on the drinks and the snacks, on the social, and you would still have some amusement, but you would shy away from being a children as well as an adult entertainment venue. And I'm not sure if the research has been done, but how many parents have been put off going back to a Dave & Buster's because they've gone into a Dave & Buster's on a Friday when there's a game night going, and the wrong noises are coming from the audience, or vice versa. The game night boys have been put off because there's been too many kids on the playing facilities. These are all aspects that could be quite simply separated by having a D&B Social and Dave & Buster's. And as I said in our last sound off when we were talking about this, generally, not to this detail, but when we were talking generally, again, why not also do the same thing for main event? Maybe there is a M&E social concept that could be parachuted in along with a D&B Social. You would expand the number of venue chain offerings. It would allow your marketing team to split and focus on the key opportunities that Dave & Buster's offers, what D&B Social could offer, what M&E Social could offer, and they could compete with each other. And this would be a much more appropriate thing than throwing the baby out with the bathwater by sullying the Dave & Buster's brand by trying to make it all things to all men. Because I'll tell you now, this shotgun is going to miss the target. Personal opinion. I look forward to be proven wrong, and to hear from Dave & Buster's that the social entertainment products that they've parachuted in their facility are generating vast amounts of money and everybody is happy. If by fluke that we find out that they aren't generating money, I hope we're not going to kill the messenger. I hope we're not going to shoot down the platform products that Dave & Buster's has parachuted on rather than their application. So again, watch this space. We've had a chance to actually touch this ourselves. We are individuals that work in the industry. I don't claim to be the font of all knowledge or an expert. I just claim to be a specialist. And I feel that maybe from what we've seen of the Dave & Buster's Social Bay approach, it may need a little bit more time in the oven. Moving on, and we see something very unusual. I didn't get a chance when we were doing our IALPA, location-based entertainment product analysis. I didn't have a lot of chance to go into this much more. Virtual reality being applied in the resort business, as we've touched upon with the Butlins play experience kind of facility, where you have a captive family entertainment theme park or resort facility, and you then add an entertainment component, or you build upon an entertainment component that already exists. Great Wolf Park have been great at, pardon the pun, at adding an entertainment component to their water flume experience and their live stay experience and their adventure. And they have turned to adding virtual reality to their space. They've dabbled a couple of times, and they've taken one of their most popular brands, the Magic Quest brand. And if you're not familiar, that's people wandering around a certain area of their facility with wands, and through the use of RFID, those wands, if moved in a certain way, will activate adventure elements. So this is a very novel mission quest kind of experience, building off of their own unique universe that has been created. I know the individuals that originated the Magic Quest concept, and they come from a storytelling background, which shows itself in the experience. And now they've taken the Magic Quest concept, which is looking a little bit tired, and they've now pivoted it into virtual reality, and they've created the Magic Quest Power and Puzzles. So what I would call a mission room kind of virtual reality experience is building itself off of an already proven IP that Great Wolf Lodge has, and they're using virtual reality. I will be interested to see how popular this does as a virtual reality experience compared to their physical, or as I would call it, phygital experience, the original of that, which can trace itself back to the 90s. the Magic Quest. A number of the individuals that were involved with Magic Quest actually were involved with the last explosion in location-based entertainment. But the other thing about this is the metaverse theater experience that Exploring Digital has is also sold to location-based entertainment as a drop-in attraction. And I'm led to believe that this Magic Quest experience will be available to those buying the the metaverse experience, and that's a great way for your IP to have a wider deployment away from just being in your Great Wolf Lodge. Sadly, I didn't have the time during IALPA to play this. I hope to get round to play this to see how much it mirrors the immersive entertainment that Magic Quest, the original wand-based experience, offered. I am a big fan of the original Magic Quest. I was only sad that they couldn't roll out and expand the concept over time, and maybe parachuting it into virtual reality is a way to grow that. Brandon, any comments?
Yeah, Magic Quest is still one of my favorite implementations of a game that covers an experience that covers the entire Great Wolf Lodge facility. My kids, I have great memories of my kids running around with their wolf ears on and their wands and moving from one kiosk and one element to the next and building and growing. And my son still talks about his time there, and he's now a senior in high school, still talks about his time playing Magic Quest and absolutely loves it. I think one of my issues with Megaverse and their implementation of it is that they have done nothing to brand the Megaverse arena to match the rest of the Great Wolf Lodge branding. And I think one of the things that they've always done so well at Great Wolf Lodge is take their ropes course and take their mini golf and take their climbing walls and take even their duck pin bowling and anything else that they have, and really blending it into the overall theme of the space. And really what we're seeing here, and I just literally pull this up right from from the Great Wolf Lodge website, we're seeing just basically a Megaverse space dropped right into a Great Wolf Lodge. And they tried to rebrand it, call it Mega Venture, but that only holds up so far, because as soon as you walk into the arena, all you see is Megaverse branding everywhere. And so I think, I'm excited that they did a custom game, but I'm also a little bit disappointed that they didn't really spend any time to bring the Great Wolf Lodge branding into the arena itself.
With my Walt Disney Imagineer hat on, I would be calling this themality. They've really not gone for heavy themality on this, and it is an off-the-shelf Megaverse enclosure being parachuted into the Great Wolf environment. I am led to believe, or the scuttlebutt was, that we will see more themality and more engagement of the Wolf Lodge branding into the enclosures. But if we haven't seen it yet, then it may take longer to do that. I think they will miss a trick if they don't do that. As a friend of mine would say, you have to make it your own. If there are other VR attractions out there and you're competing against them, even if you're using your own IP, you still have to make that your own. I would argue that they should force people to wear the capes when they go into the experience. I think that there should be themed controllers. I think that the environment should be decorated to match that. Hopefully these are all elements that are in the works, and we will see that. I know that when I was writing the report for the Stinger report on IALPA, that they actually are calling their enclosures, it wasn't mega adventures when I was writing that up, it was virtual adventures or something like that parroted off of the Magic Quest. I hope that they really do get a chance to make it their own, as it were. Talking about making it your own, and a little bit of clarification on really what we were talking about in our IALPA rundown with Adam and yourself. I am putting together the belated Stinger Report IALPA coverage, which stretches across multiple copies, and I have to keep on sending questions off to certain exhibitors to make sure that my addled brain got the information correctly, and our friends at AVS were able to clarify a little bit more regarding where we stand with the cabinets, the Viper cabinets, I am led to inform. Yes, one will be with the Kung Fu Panda, and there is now a software progression path which you can upgrade to include Vader Immortal. And for those of you that, light bulbs gone off in your head, Vader Immortal, wasn't that available in VR before? Yes, it was, and there's I include a picture there of the virtual VR Arsenal Vader Immortal cabinet. You can kind of see the synergy of where these manufacturers are coming from regarding when you say we want to have a standalone virtual reality experience. I would argue that Night Heron has done a fantastic job incorporating a very standout platform. We just hope that the game stands out enough to warrant the expense and the development. But their change of color, key lighting, change of a marquee, and you can upgrade your Panda experience to your Jedi experience. It will be interesting to see, my favorite catchphrase, I must get the t-shirts printed, how this game fares in the market, how well, how many operators are going to jump in and take the plunge on an upright VR experience, when they can also look at proven ROI, as we were talking last time in the IALPA LBX, that some of the Raw Thrills products and some of the LAI game systems, which are standalone, unattended VR experiences, already have a track record, and going for such a large single player cabinet in VR may be not to every operator's taste. That said, it's still a compelling IP. Both the Star Wars IP and the Kung Fu Panda IP, and that can be used as a centerpiece attraction. I know that a number of venues that had the Beat Saber VR Arsenal game made that a centerpiece standalone product, and that generated a lot of throughput interest that went to that permeated itself around the rest of the venue. And I hope that we see the same kind of thing with these type of systems. Continuing down the path and just going back to what I was saying about VR, at the end of 2024, it was clear that we were entering a new phase of adoption. VR has gone from being people hadn't tried it and wanted to try its experience, novelty factor, to now being, oh, that's VR, is this game any good kind of approach. From the sit-down ride VR simulators, we have seen some serious ROI generated. I know from sources that Godzilla Kaiju War has been a big operator hit in certain locations, along with the King Kong experience. And Raw Thrills has actually come out. They were showing at IALPA the latest chapter of the King Kong VR experience, which is again another boon to make sure that you keep the product fresh by having updated softwares for people to try again, that repeat visitation that we're always trying to generate. And at the same time, the venues that are operating free roam VRs, venues, VR attractions or enclosures are also seeing some very strong numbers. A lot of them are commenting that the real estate that these systems take up and the member of staff that they have to dedicate to this means that they're forced to make sure that these are front and center and generating the type of revenue that is needed. So, they see very minutely exactly how much revenue they're generating, because they're also having to put money in themselves by having to have an operator. I would keep a very close eye on the free roaming arena business over the next couple of months leading up to Amusement Expo, because I think we'll be seeing a lot of developments as the reality hits, pardon the pun, and also certain manufacturers find maybe a better route to market is gathering together and maybe forming under one particular banner. But again, I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, but that's one to watch. Anyway, that is the first Of the sound offs for 2025, anything jump out, Brandon, or are we done?
Yeah, I mean, I think I obviously had a chance to play the Kung Fu Panda game and did thoroughly enjoy the game. I think it would actually be just as enjoyable without the headset. You know, with the big full panel. I mean, that is already such a large footprint, and the screen is right there, and you are right in front of the screen. I could still hold the controller, still do all of the things, but without the headset, and have potentially even a better experience, less latency, etc. without it. Now, obviously, Vader Immortal is a very different scenario, but I do think that throughput, etc., and getting used to getting the headset strapped on could be higher for the Kung Fu Panda game anyway without the headset. I also think that it is a perfect opportunity for a redemption component to the Kung Fu Panda as well. You know, obviously earning points and smacking things and ducking and everything else, all the things that you get to do with that game, that makes it a lot of fun. It's also very accessible, but strapping on that headset, especially for younger players, will limit, I think, the audience for that game.
There is technology out there. You know, most people will remember the Wii game machine console, and some people will even remember the Microsoft Kinect. You know, we can track your body movement. And if you're hardened like myself, and you look at what the benefit of having a virtual reality helmet on, headset on, compared to an unencumbered version of that, because you're still going to have the controllers for whatever we're suggesting. But I could do a version of that technology by replacing the headset, by just having a body tracking system do that. How, dressing the baby up in funny clothes. It's very hard with an entrepreneur to sort of look at their technology and say, hey, let's get rid of the virtual reality component when they've spent all of their time, fiddling to get the virtual reality aspect out. But very few people who put that helmet on will be looking fully up, fully behind it, fully around. Your frame of reference, literally your frame of reference, is the screen in front of you with maybe a little of lateral vision left and right. And we've seen that in a perfect example of this, what we've seen in the esports racing sector. Everybody thought that we'd be wearing virtual reality helmets when we were doing esports racing, but you're just looking at that screen in front of you, and that screen is adequate. And even you could make the screen even smaller because you start to have a reduced vision as you're racing. So sometimes less is more. And I would love to sit down with Knight Heron and just do a test of a version without headset and redemption tickets against one with virtual reality headset. Because again, we have the issue of younger players not feeling comfortable with the older version of the HTC Vive headset. Oh dear, but that is the price of technology. Sometimes technology is just added for technology's sake, and my favorite phrase, "baby out with the bathwater." I think maybe they're going to have a hard look at what they are offering the entertainment sector with this very expensive IP. So again, all of that technology, an expensive IP, and a game that isn't 1,000 times better for being in virtual reality are all considerations that you're going to have to make in the cold light of day.
Yep. We don't want to see Knight Heron go the way of immersive game box and struggle with expensive equipment as well as then expensive IP. So
we need to be clear, though. Our friends at Immersive Gamebox are still with us and still doing business. Yes. Even though their parent company is in administration, they're still firing along, and we hope to have news in the next couple of sound offs of their acquisition. I would point to Otherworld maybe as an example of a company that stuck to its guns down a certain path, and when they hit the wall hard. We could say the same about our friends at Nomadic VR or even at The Void. But in our sector, in the amusement sector, as I was saying previously, the VR component has to generate ROI. No matter how flashy the technology, how big the IP, If the product doesn't generate the coinage, if we're going to get really basic, if it doesn't generate the clicks, the swipes, the coins, the medals, whatever your payment metric is, then it goes out and it gets replaced with something that can do that. And at this moment in time, even though the Kung Fu Panda game experience is compelling, they've got to prove to us that that VR makes it even more compelling for people to play and spend on.
Yep. Excellent. All right. Well, that wraps up our Son-Off number 56, first one of the year. Looking forward to many, many more with you, Kevin.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. Signing off. Stay tuned and keep kicking ass.